Hello, it's Eric here, and then I'm sitting at a beach, and then it's been absolutely pouring down. We've been having heavy rainstorms and thunderstorms and things like that for the last week and a half, and then it makes you want to go back to those hot, sultry summer days, yeah. But then once you are in the hot, sultry summer days, you wish you were having some rain, yeah. So it just goes to show that there's no satisfying us as human beings, yeah. And all right, so today I'm going to talk about something that I'm not super confident on, yeah. So if I made a mistake in my analysis, please let me know, yeah. And then so today I'm going to talk about credit default swap, and then how sometimes CDS credit default swap is not an adequate instrument to hedge your risk, yeah. So first of all, CDS is basically a derivative financial instrument. Yeah, it's not a real financial instrument. Yeah, what is real in this case is the bond spread. Yeah, so the bond spread basically is just the difference between the bond yield, any risky bond yield, and then the riskless treasury bond yield. Yeah, and then so in theory, the bond spread should be the same as the credit default swap. Yeah. So basically, if you hold some risky bonds and then you want to protect yourself against the risk of default on this risky bond, then you buy some CDS, yeah? And so therefore, in theory, the bond spread should be the same as the credit default swap, yeah? And then, so what happens is that the credit default swap is actually calculated based on the difference between the bond yield and the treasury yield, yeah? So the key word here is based on, yeah? That means you don't actually go out and trade, buy and sell treasury bonds and then the risky bonds, yeah? You just use the bond yield and the treasury yield to calculate the CDS rate, and then you pay the price or the rate, accordingly, yeah? So so credit default swap is not something that is real. That is not something that is really traded, yeah, in the stock market or the bond market. It's just something that is based entirely on the existing bond yield and the treasury yield, yeah. And whereas the bond spread is, if you want to calculate the bond spread, you really do have to go out and buy and sell the risky bonds and the treasury bonds, yeah. So in theory, the bond spread should be the same as the credit default swap, but very often they are not the same, yeah. In fact, the direction is actually asymmetric. Very often the bond spread is much higher than the credit default swap, yeah. And the reason being that there is a lot of transaction cost to arrive at the bond spread, yeah. And then like for example, the best case example in this environment is of course the Russian bonds, yeah. And then so as you know, many Russian bonds are sanctioned by the Western countries, yeah. So therefore, if you hold some some Russian bonds, then you're facing a lot of default risk on those Russian bonds, yeah. And so therefore, you want to protect yourself against this risk by buying some credit default swap, yeah. But unfortunately, the credit default swap is not going to be enough to protect you against this default risk in the Russian bonds, yeah. Like I said, because the Russian bond spread is actually much higher than the credit default swap, yeah. So then, if you're holding, the Russian bonds and you're facing a lot of credit default swap risk, then you go ahead and buy some credit default swap, and then hopefully you can protect yourself against those the Russian bond default risk, yeah. But it turns out that you may be fooling yourself, by doing this, because the credit default swap may not be enough to cover the loss that you're going to suffer, if the Russian bonds are going to default, yeah, simply because the bond spread is much higher than the credit default swap, yeah. And so this is not really a kind of a dirty financial trick or anything like that, yeah. It's just a reality that you have to face up to, when you are holding some, when you are dealing with risky bonds like the Russian bonds, yeah, and then you go ahead and buy some CDS to hedge against those default risk. Then you have to be careful. You may have to buy a little bit more of the CDS, yeah. And then so if you're just thinking that the ratio of 1 to 1, yeah, one risky bond hedged by one unit of CDS, then you may be fooling yourself, yeah. All right. So next video, I'm going to talk about another dirty financial trick. All right. I'll see you then. Bye.